Welcome to the Olive Grove Podcast. Today, we're diving deep into a really fascinating ancient text, Nahum chapter 2.
Mm-hmm.
You brought this one to us. You were curious about the history behind it and maybe what it means today.
Exactly. And our main source for this deep dive is an online study focusing specifically on Nahum chapter 2.
Okay.
It does a good job placing this prophecy right in its historical moment. We're talking about the fall of Nineveh, the big Assyrian capital, in 612 BC.
Right, the Babylonians and Medes.
That's them. And the study also, hints at some potential parallels, maybe for Christians or for Israel today.
So for you listening, the learner, our mission here is to unpack the key events, the main ideas in this chapter.
Yeah, figure out why Nineveh fell according to the text.
Exactly. And see if there are lessons that stick, but without getting too lost in complex theology, we want the historical nuggets, the potential wisdom.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Okay, so the study kicks off with Nahum 2, verse 1, and it's a real shift from chapter 1. Well, chapter 1 was more about reassuring Judah, but here, boom, God's talking directly to Nineveh.
Okay.
And the language is strong. Listen. A destroyer has risen in front of your face.
Yeah.
Guard the ramparts, keep watch on the road, brace yourselves, marshal all your strength.
Wow. Intense.
Yeah. And our source suggests there might even be a mocking tone here, like God's saying, go on, rely on that self-reliance you love so much.
Huh. That's interesting. So it's almost sarcastic, telling them to do the very thing that won't save them.
Kind of seems that way.
Yeah.
What is that opening verse set up for everything else?
Well, it immediately sets this tone of impending doom, but also futility, right?
Right.
God tells this superpower, known for its military, hey, beef up your defenses, but the underlying message is, it won't matter.
Because something bigger is at play.
Exactly. It signals that human strength, even Nineveh's legendary strength, is irrelevant against this judgment. It's a powerful start.
Okay, so after that direct warning to Nineveh, verse 2 takes a kind of surprising turn, doesn't it?
It does. It shifts focus completely.
Yeah, it talks about restoring the pride of Yaakov, along with the pride of Israel. Yaakov being another name for Israel, of course.
Mm-hmm. And the reason given is because they've been plundered and ravaged by others.
Right. So the study sees this as, well, God might have used Assyria, maybe for correction, but ultimately, he's stepping in to restore his own people.
Which brings up that whole idea of God using, let's say, unexpected instruments.
Yeah, like even a brutal empire.
For his purposes, but his ultimate loyalty and faithfulness is to his own covenant people. It puts the judgment on Nineveh in a bigger picture.
So what does that tell us about the relationship here between Assyria and Israel in this prophecy?
It shows they're deeply intertwined. Nineveh's fall isn't just about Nineveh. It's linked to the restoration of Israel, who they oppressed.
Oh, okay. So it's cause and effect, almost.
In a way, yeah. It shows that nations are accountable and God's promises to Israel hold firm even when things look bleak.
Got it. Okay, then verse 3 snaps the focus right back to Nineveh.
And how? It's very visual.
Totally. It describes their military. The shields of Nineveh's warriors are dyed red. The soldiers are wearing scarlet.
Striking colors. Red, scarlet. Makes you think of blood, violence.
Definitely. And then the steel of the chariots flashes like fire as they prepare for battle. The cypress spears are poisoned.
Oof, poison spears.
Yeah. The study really emphasizes how much Nineveh trusted in this military power, this visual display of force. What does that imagery tell us about them?
It screams that their priority, their identity even, was wrapped up in military might, intimidation, and frankly, brutality.
Like that's where they put all their trust.
Absolutely. Flashing steel, scarlet uniforms, poison weapons. It's a culture built on war and projecting strength.
But then that image of perfect military might just crumbles in the next verses 4 and 5.
It really does. The contrast is stark.
It describes this chaotic defense. The chariots rush madly about in the streets, jostling each other in the open places.
Not exactly orderly. Rush madly. Jostling. That sounds like panic.
Yeah. Their appearances like torches. They run here and there like lightning. And then the king tries to get things organized. The king of Nineveh assigns his officers. They stumble as they march.
Stumble. That's the key word there.
They hurry to its wall and set up shields to protect the battering ram. The study says this shows just how desperate they are, falling back on the military as judgment arrives.
It's pure reaction, isn't it? The discipline is gone. They're just scrambling.
What details there really pop out as showing that panic?
For me, it's the stumbling. These were supposed to be elite officers, the pride of the empire, and they're tripping as they run to the walls.
Yeah, not a good look.
And the chariots jostling each other, it paints a picture of complete disarray, not a coordinated defense.
Yeah.
Their greatest strength becomes a liability in the chaos.
Okay, then comes a really pivotal moment in verse 6.
Ah, yes. This one's critical.
The gates of the rivers are opened, and the palace melts away.
And our source connects this right to the historical accounts, doesn't it?
It does. Specifically to the Tigris River, flooding during the siege, breaking through the walls, taking out the talus.
Which is just incredible. It shows God using, nature itself as part of the judgment.
A power totally beyond their control. How big a deal was this flood in the city's fall?
Oh, it was huge. Catastrophic, really. Think about it. Their massive walls, maybe their biggest source of confidence, breached by water.
Undermined completely.
Exactly. And the palace melting away, that's not just physical destruction, it's symbolic. The seat of their power just dissolving. It proves that no human defense is absolute.
Wow. Okay, so the defenses are breached, the palace is gone. Verses 7 and 8 describe the aftermath, the actual fall.
Yeah, the human cost starts coming into focus.
Its mistress is stripped and carried away. Her handmaids moan. They sound like doves as they beat their breasts. Such evocative language.
It really is. The moaning like doves, beating breasts, classic signs of deep mourning and despair.
And then this line, Ninvis is like a pool whose water ebbs away. Stop, stop, but none of it goes back.
That image of the ebbing pool is powerful. Irreversible loss.
The study also mentions this word hazab in verse 7, which apparently means something like fixed or established.
Right, possibly referring to an idol or maybe the city itself, seen as permanent.
Which is deeply ironic, given what's happening.
Hugely ironic. What they thought was fixed is being utterly removed. It speaks volumes about their misplaced confidence, doesn't it? This belief in their own permanence.
Yeah, definitely. That they were just untouchable.
And they found out they weren't. The cries of stop, stop show that desperate, futile realization.
So the city's falling, people are being carried off. Verses 9 and 10 then focus on the looting.
The spoils of war, which is another layer of irony here.
How so?
Well, Nineveh got incredibly wealthy by plundering other nations, right?
Right, that was their whole deal.
And now the tables are turned. The call goes out. Plunder the silver, plunder the gold. There is no end to the treasure, weighed down with precious things. The plunderer becomes the plundered.
Poetic justice, kind of.
You could say that. But then it immediately contrasts that material wealth with the state of the people. She is void, vacant, she is made bare.
Total emptiness.
Yeah, and then the physical reaction. Hearts are melting, knees are knocking, every stomach is churning, every face is drained of color.
That's intense. How does that description stack up against those earlier images of their, military power and wealth?
It's a complete inversion, isn't it? All that external strength, the scarlet uniforms, the flashing chariots, the piles of treasure, it means nothing now.
Right.
Internally, they're just broken, terrified,
Yeah.
helpless. It shows how shallow that worldly power really was when confronted with this judgment.
Then verses 11 and 12 shift to this metaphor.
The lion's den. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
famous one.
It asks, what has become of the lion's den, the cave where the young lions fed, where lion and lioness walked with their cubs, and no one made them afraid?
A powerful image for Assyria. They were often depicted as lions in their own art. Fierce, predatory, dominant.
And the verse continues that. The lion would tear up food for his cubs and strangle prey for his lionesses. He used to fill his caves with prey, his lairs with torn flesh.
That perfectly captures their reputation, building their empire through conquest and violence, enriching themselves at others' expense.
So the study sees this lion's den as Nineveh itself, once secure, feared, untouchable.
Exactly. The metaphor highlights just how powerful and seemingly invincible they were. Nobody dared challenge the lion in its den.
Until now.
Right. The question, what has become of it, is rhetorical. The answer is, it's gone, destroyed. The mighty lion's den is empty. It emphasizes the completeness of their downfall.
Which leads us straight into the final verse of the chapter, verse 13.
The final word, and it's from God himself.
Yeah, it's explicit. I am against you, says Adonai Tzvat. That's the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies.
A very potent title to use here.
Definitely. And he continues. Her chariots I will send up in smoke. The sword will consume your lion cubs. I will destroy your prey from the earth, and your envoys' voices will be heard no more.
Wow. He basically lists how he's going to dismantle every aspect of their power.
Military.
Gone. Future leadership, the lion cubs.
Gone.
Their economic base, the prey.
Destroyed.
And even their diplomatic influence, the envoys' voices.
Silenced.
Yeah.
The study emphasizes that this isn't just like bad luck or a shift in geopolitics.
No, it's presented as a direct personal intervention by God. What's the significance of that? Of God saying, I am against you?
Well, it elevates it beyond just a human conflict, doesn't it? It makes it clear that the ultimate force behind Nineveh's fall is divine judgment.
It's not just the Babylonians and Medes winning a battle.
Right. According to Nahum, they are instruments, but the ultimate actor, the one ensuring this total destruction, is God himself responding to Nineveh's arrogance and violence.
It really underscores that theme of divine sovereignty over nations, over history itself.
Absolutely. So wrapping up chapter 2, this deep dive, drawing on our source, it gives us this incredibly vivid picture.
Yeah, the rise and, well, the spectacular fall of this ancient superpower.
And the study highlights those key themes. The danger of self-reliance, or maybe over-reliance on military strength.
The complexities of judgment and restoration happening side by side.
And ultimately, God's authority over even the mightiest empires. It's quite a chapter.
It really is.
Now, our main focus was chapter 2, but the study, sets the stage for what comes next. Briefly, what does it indicate about chapter 3?
Well, based on how these things usually flow and what the source implies by its focus on chapter 2, chapter 3 basically continues and intensifies the judgment.
Okay, so more of the same themes.
Pretty much. It likely doubles down on the reasons why Nineveh deserved this fate, their lies, their violence, their oppression, and emphasizes just how complete and final that destruction will be. It reinforces everything we've seen building up in chapter 2.
Got it. So no let up in chapter 3.
Doesn't sound like it. It cements the message.
Okay. So connecting this back to you, the learner, seeing how this seemingly invincible city, this lion's den, met such a swift and total end.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Here's a final thought to maybe chew on. Considering Nineveh's fate as described here, what might be some modern-day Ninevehs?
Oh, interesting question.
Yeah, systems, powers, maybe even ideologies that seem completely dominant, unshakable.
Right, projecting that same kind of invincible image.
Exactly. But could they, maybe, have hidden weaknesses, internal issues, or be vulnerable to external forces they don't foresee, much like ancient Nineveh?
That's definitely something worth pondering as you continue your own learning journey. Where are those points of potential instability hidden beneath the surface of strength today?
Good food for thought.